Imagine this. You wake up one morning with a strange sensation, not pain, not fear, but absence, a hollowness, as if something fundamental is missing. Your body moves, your eyes blink, your mouth speaks. But behind it all, there's a haunting quiet, a disconnection, like you're watching yourself from a distance, moving through a life that somehow no longer feels like yours. You eat breakfast without tasting it. You scroll through your phone, laugh at a meme, send a message, and none of it touches you. The world is vivid, but you are fading, and no one notices. Not even you, not at first. You go to work, or school, or nowhere. You follow the familiar script, smile when you're supposed to, say what's expected, perform the ritual of living. But inside, something has already died. Not your body, not your mind, something deeper. And the scariest part? You've been dead for years. You just didn't know it. Most people think death comes at the end. They think it's an event, a heartbeat that doesn't come, a breath that never returns. But what if death is not an ending? What if it's a slow forgetting of who you are, a quiet surrender to routine, to safety, to numbness? What if most people die long before their bodies do? They die when they trade wonder for predictability, when they stop questioning and start complying, when their passions dissolve into shoulds and their dreams shrink into something more manageable, more adult, more acceptable. They die when their lives become answers instead of questions. Have you ever wondered why so many eyes are dim behind their smiles? Why so many voices speak but say nothing real? Why so many people seem to carry invisible coffins on their backs, buried dreams, crushed courage, abandoned selves? Is this what adulthood is? A slow death disguised as responsibility? We celebrate the ones who conform, who follow the rules, who don't make noise, who don't ask too much, who don't want too much. We reward them with likes, salaries, and a place in the system. But in the quiet moments, they feel it, the ache, the echo of something they lost but can't quite name. Have you ever felt that? That you're not fully here? That a part of you vanished somewhere between survival and success? You were born radiant, wild, curious, screaming with life. But over time, the world taught you how to shrink, to sit still, to behave, to be good, to be quiet, to be safe. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the flame flickered. Not all at once, no dramatic collapse, just a steady dimming, until you couldn't remember what the fire ever felt like. But what if that spark is still in you? What if the death you've been living isn't the end, but a warning, a haunting, a whisper, a question? What if you never truly lived at all? Would you keep going the same way, knowing that the path leads nowhere, or would you stop? Would you dare to turn around, to look at what you buried? Would you open the coffin and face what you've become? Because here's the thing most people will never admit. You can die while still breathing. You can bury your soul beneath your own habits. You can live a full life by society's standards and still leave this world a stranger to yourself. So here you are, awake, reading, breathing. But are you alive? You're not alone in this death in life. It's a shared curse, whispered through generations, buried beneath layers of polite society and polite smiles. But why? Why does the vibrant spark of being dissolve into numbness, invisibility, and silent resignation? To understand this slow death, you have to confront the architects of your inner prison, the invisible forces shaping your mind, your soul, your very sense of self. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the parts of you refuse to face, the buried pain and rejected desires, the pieces of your being society tells you to hide, stuff away in the dark. Jung warned that ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It festers, corrodes, and eventually controls you from beneath. But society isn't just silent. It's deafening in its expectations. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who refused to accept life's easy answers, saw this as the root of humanity's malaise. He called it the last man, the person who seeks comfort and security over challenge and risk. The last man is safe, but safe is a synonym for dead. A life without struggle, without confrontation with your own abyss, is no life at all. It's a slow extinction. The world teaches you to avoid discomfort, to seek approval, to conform. From childhood, You are conditioned to obey invisible rules. Don't make waves, don't ask too much, don't dream too loudly. The rebellion of youth is beaten down by the dull routines of adulthood. And the price? Your authentic self is buried beneath layers of shoulds, musts, and what-ifs. Arthur Schopenhauer saw this in the endless human striving, the ceaseless chasing of desires that can never truly satisfy. Life, he said, is a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. The moment you settle for comfort over meaning, boredom seeps in, and with it, a quiet death of the soul. Existentialists like Sartre dug deeper. Existence precedes essence, he said. You are thrown into the world, free, but condemned to choose. But the freedom to choose terrifies, and so many flee into bad faith, living as though their roles define them, denying their freedom, denying the weight of their responsibility. This self-deception is a slow strangulation, a death before death. You've been sold a story. If you work hard, play by the rules, and check all the boxes, happiness will follow. But what if that story is a lie? What if it's a cage? Aldous Huxley warned about this, how modern society could numb us into docility with distractions, conformity, and superficial pleasure. His dystopia wasn't just about tyranny, but about a population anesthetized by comfort, stripped of their desire for anything more profound. And Viktor Frankl, who found meaning even in the darkest of human suffering, saw that the greatest agony is the loss of purpose. When your life's meaning evaporates, death creeps in, not of the body, but of the will to live. This hidden death isn't a failure of circumstance, but a psychological and philosophical collapse, a surrender to the invisible, insidious forces that convince you to shrink your dreams, to silence your voice, to settle for the ordinary. And so, you become a ghost, wandering your own existence. These forces shape your behavior, your identity, and your emotions. They build invisible walls that isolate you, making you believe the numbness is normal, the routine inevitable. They tell you to hide your rage, your grief, your yearning. They whisper that your worth is measured by your productivity, your conformity, your silence. And yet, beneath this suffocating veil, your soul screams for connection, for authenticity, for rebellion. But rebellion is dangerous. It threatens everything you've built: the comfort, the acceptance, the predictability. So you bury the scream deeper, fold the rebellion into small acts of quiet compliance. This is why most people die before they're dead, not because they lose life, but because they lose themselves. And it's no accident. It's a slow, collective abdication of freedom, a surrender to shadows, illusions, and false promises. Now, can you feel it? The weight of this hidden death pressing down on your chest? The silent erosion of who you could be? If so, you're not just awake, you're at the edge. The question is, will you step back into the shadow, or will you dare to look into the abyss and find the spark still flickering there? Because the forces shaping this death are cunning, and the path to escape is neither obvious nor easy. You don't realize how deep the rot goes until you feel its shadow creeping into every corner of your mind, your body, your world. It's a slow poison, invisible but relentless. You think you're alive, but your thoughts are scripted, your emotions muted, your senses dulled. You live in a self-imposed prison without walls. This is the unseen consequence of dying before you're dead. Neuroscience shows us the brain's incredible plasticity, the way it shapes itself around what you focus on, what you repeat, what you believe. When you surrender to numbness, your brain hardwires patterns of disengagement. Your neurons fire less in the circuits of curiosity and joy. The brain's reward system, craving novelty and meaning, becomes desensitized, like a radio stuck on static. Cognitive science reveals a phenomenon called learned helplessness. It's what happens when your mind believes no action can change your reality. Over time, you stop trying. You stop dreaming. You accept the bleak script handed to you. You become a passive observer of your own fading life. Your perception warps. The world loses color, not because it's changed, but because your lens has dulled. The little moments of wonder become rare exceptions, swallowed by routine. Social and cultural biases tighten the noose. The invisible rules you live by aren't neutral. They're a product of history, power, and fear. Your culture prizes efficiency over exploration, conformity over courage. You're rewarded for fitting in, punished for standing out. The system trains you to trade vibrancy for safety. Even your relationships feel the strain. You become a hollow echo, a shadow among shadows. Connection requires presence, but you're distracted by the ghost of your former self. Empathy dims, conversations become superficial. You long for depth, but settle for noise. The worst part? This slow death breeds guilt and shame. You blame yourself for feeling empty, for failing to feel alive. But it's not weakness, it's a symptom of the system's design. Imagine a bird born in a cage who never sees the sky. It will believe the cage is all there is. To it, the bars are reality. So too with your mind. The silent decay doesn't just trap you. It shapes your choices, your identity. You become complicit in your own imprisonment, unknowingly building walls around your soul with every decision to play it safe. And this is why so many feel trapped, even when the chains are invisible. They long for freedom, but fear the unknown. They crave meaning, but cling to routine. They want life, but settle for survival. The paradox is brutal. You die a little every time you refuse to live fully, yet you can't see the death happening. Your reality becomes a feedback loop of resignation, a cage with invisible bars. The more you conform, the less alive you feel, and the more you conform. But inside that loop, a quiet voice stirs, a flicker of unrest, a hunger for something different, something real. Can you hear it? That whisper beneath the noise? It's the last breath of the self you buried. The consequences ripple outward too. When millions live like ghosts, society itself erodes. Innovation stalls, compassion fades, courage retreats. The collective soul shrinks into a gray fog of apathy and fear. This slow death is not just personal, it's cultural, systemic, generational. It feeds on our fears, thrives on our silence, and multiplies in our numbness. And yet, paradoxically, this very despair holds a seed of awakening. Because when the system tightens its grip, the human spirit can still rebel. But to break free, you must first see the cage clearly, to feel the pain honestly, to face the truth no one else will tell you. The unseen consequences have led you here, to a threshold. Step forward, and you risk everything you know. Step back, and the slow death continues. Which will you choose? You stand at the edge. The weight of everything you've lost presses down, but beneath it all, a pulse remains, a flicker, a rebellion quietly waiting to ignite. Breaking free isn't about grand gestures or sudden escapes. It's a revolution inside your own mind, a refusal to accept the death you've been handed. It's radical because it asks you to question everything, your beliefs, your fears, your very identity. What if the numbness you feel is not a defect but a signal? A call to awaken from a dream you never fully consented to? You don't have to be the last man. You can be the first of a new kind. This rebellion begins with a simple, terrifying act, saying no. No to complacency. No to good enough. No to the invisible scripts that have shaped your life. The first step is reclaiming your freedom to choose, to look at your life and say, this is not all there is. To own your desires without shame. To risk the discomfort of change. Look to history and see the rebels, Nietzsche's Zarathustra, who danced with chaos to forge new values. The mystics who burned with inner fire despite the darkness around them. The artists, the warriors, the thinkers who dared to break the mold. They remind you, the path is lonely. It demands courage, but it also promises life. Raw, vibrant, terrifying, and beautiful. Mindset reversals are your tools. You learn to see failure as growth, fear as a compass, boredom as an opportunity to dig deeper. You trade certainty for curiosity, safety for authenticity. You start small. A moment of honesty here, a refusal to lie there, a brave truth spoken in a whisper or a shout. You awaken your senses, feeling the texture of the air, the weight of your body, the taste of your breath. You practice presence, not as an obligation, but as a radical act of rebellion against numbness. This rebellion is a revolution of consciousness, a reclaiming of the self from the shadows. and it's contagious. When one person lights their fire, others feel the warmth. The system trembles. You learn to forgive yourself for the years of sleepwalking, to honor the journey that brought you here, even if it felt like a slow death. Because rebellion isn't about perfection, it's about choice, and choice is life. You begin to rewrite your story. You step into the discomfort of becoming alive again. This is no longer a whisper, it's a roar rising from the depths of your being. And in that roar, you find clarity, a purpose that burns through the fog, a vision of a life that refuses to be buried. But remember, this rebellion is not a destination. It's a path that demands continual courage. Each day, you must choose to live awake, to challenge the shadows, to embrace the unknown, because the greatest rebellion is to simply be alive. And now, at this moment, you face your first real choice, to remain in the slow death or to rise into life's fierce light. What will you choose? Imagine standing alone in a vast, silent cathedral of stars. The cold emptiness presses on your skin like truth itself, unavoidable, immense. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a light flickers, not fragile, not faint, fierce. You've come to this moment, the edge of all things, known and unknown. Here, the slow death that haunted you dissolves into clarity. The ultimate truth is this: you are not the shadow that haunts you. You are not the numbness that suffocates you. You are not the cage built from fear, conformity, or silence. You are the space between, the breath between heartbeats, the vastness in the pause before the storm. Life does not ask you to be anything other than what you are, a living paradox, fragile and fierce, broken and whole, fleeting and infinite. This is the revelation no philosophy can fully capture, no psychology can fully explain. You are the unbounded awareness in which all experience arises and falls away. You die before you're dead only if you forget this. Your essence is not the roles you play, the stories you tell yourself, or the masks you wear. It is the witness behind all these, untouched, unshakable, eternal. When you grasp this, the slow death loses its power. It's no longer a prison, but a passage, a shedding of old skins that no longer fit. You realize freedom is not out there, somewhere beyond the horizon. It is inside you, in this moment, this breath, this choice to awaken. An awakening is not a destination, but a continuous dance, a fierce embrace of paradox. The courage to be fully alive amidst chaos and calm, joy and pain, light and shadow. Your scars become stories of survival, not shame. Your fears become teachers, not jailers. Your silence becomes a sacred space where truth can speak. This truth hums beneath the surface of everything, ancient and new, simple and profound. The slow death is the illusion of separation, the illusion that you are less than, broken, or incomplete. But you are whole, always whole. And in that wholeness, life bursts forth, wild, untamed, radiant. You were never meant to just survive. You were meant to live, to blaze, to love fiercely, to dance with the unknown until your bones sing. This is your birthright, your rebellion, your ultimate liberation. So now, as you stand in this cathedral of stars, hear the quiet roar of your own soul. Rise from the slow death. Step into the light of your unbound being and live, because most people die before they're dead. But you will live before you die. We are not here to sleepwalk through life. We are here to wake up together, to question, to grow, and to remember what it means to truly be alive. Subscribe to keep expanding your mind and deepening your understanding of the human psyche. Thanks for watching. I hope this gave you something real to carry into your day. Take care, and I'll see you next time.